Hello again, this is Cheeky, coming to you from behind enemy lines. I've been researching gynocentrism in society as a whole, and men's roles in it, for 10 years now. I only come across MGTOW 2 years ago. I found that they were saying most of the things I discovered while researching this topic, while getting a degree so that I could academically shed light on the descriptive behavior of putting women first in our society, when there is no need to do so, other than the biological, biosocial, biopsychological, evolutionary psychological, and political anthropological. So I immediately applied these frameworks to MGTOW in an academically professional manner, and started writing a book about my observations of MGTOW, which is vastly more complex than the following I am going to share with you. So I give you the following, the academic description of MGTOW. Research and authored by Cheeky Bastard. MGTOW man, men going their own way, or MAO, man going his own way, as featured on the BBC, is an online community, 1. Supported by websites and social media presences. 2. The community is part of what is more broadly termed the manosphere. 3. It is a non-judgmental coalition of self-actualized, red pill men. 9. 13. A community of men that have separated themselves from the conformity to unrealistic social expectations, female preference and ideology. Protesting conformity through peaceful non-participation, as first demonstrated by Mahatma Gandhi, 27. This protest is against gynocentrism, 4/Femfog, 5. Within Western civilization that has become hostile and prejudicial toward men and masculinity, referred to as the red pill, 9. MGTOW protestation by non-participation in traditional ideologies, gender roles and feminization, is a lifestyle of passive, non-violent resistance that does not hurt or oppress anybody, nor does it seek to do so. 6. 9. MGTOW, verb. Make a forcefully reproachful protest by peaceful non-participation and self-centralization of men. Interpretation. Philosophical. This is from the perspective of self-ownership, and often men that have been harmed consecutively by women or prejudice. According to columnist Martin Daubney, members of the MGTOW community believe that legal and romantic entanglements with women fail a cost-benefit analysis and risk-benefit analysis. 8. They now decide not to comply with social expectations, to seek the philosophy of freedom and thought, open discussion and self-determination, by encouraging men to remove the risks of exploitation out of their lives. 6. Henceforward MGTOW is not a catchphrase, and not just a motto, but of the philosophy structured towards freeing men from mandated roles of society that positions them into servitude, for example marriage, law-enforced, non-consensual progeny, the theft of property through unjust and discriminative law. 6. 28, 29. Changing men's thoughts toward removing themselves from practices that lead them into exploitation. This does not remove the practicality and needs of men, such as sex, but does not subscribe to individuals if their long-term goal and desire is to chase or please women, or has a plan to get married into conventional servitude. 1. 9. This is because it is in contradiction to the philosophy of MGTOW, making them incompatible with the philosophy but not enemies of it. 9. 6. Jeremy Nicholson, writing for Psychology Today, similarly described MGTOW as men frustrated with the lack of incentives to date, who choose to opt out of dating and focus on taking care of themselves. 9. K. Heimowitz has stated that some self-identified MGTOW express bitterness because they see women as hypergamous and manipulative. 10. Business Insider reporter Dylan Love wrote, or fully realized MGTOW, there are levels to it, is someone who shuns all relationships with women, short-term, long-term, romantic, and otherwise. He eventually shuns society as a whole. 11. MGTOW used the word gynocentric to describe conditions that favor women to the detriment of men, and are opposed to such circumstances. 12. Interpretation. Political men have become second-class citizens because of inappropriate liberal feminism, with mistaken and skewed mantra of equality. 24. 25. Men resisting this paradigm have concluded that direct confrontation with these women's advocacy and supremacy groups is non-productive in equalizing the rights of men and women. Hence the reason why MGTOW are not MRA or MRM. The reason why men's rights movements are non-productive is because they tend to be more traditionalist in their perspective, which is a trap that ultimately enslaves men. 30. This is unpalatable for the modern age of MGTOW men, because most modern men don't want a submissive 1930s wife. They just want the same courtesy and respect that is afforded to other gender/other in the 21st century. 6. This is the respect of basic human rights of personal space, personal property, equal justice, public interpersonal equality, the right to personality, the fair distribution of labor, the abolishment of entitlement, and equal status under the law and court system, with no disrespectful tone towards masculinity, or shaming men for not fitting within a government, traditionalist and feminist dogmatic view of what a man and boys should be. 6. 30. Interpretation. Media. Many men opted out of this female mantra as a passive resistance and self-protection to invoke change in a meaningful way, and this created the MGTOW movement. This is not a selfish action or excuse, but an action to take the power of their life back from traditionalism, state and women. 31. 32. A philosophy for self-reflection, of needs, emotion, personal time, labor and resources for themselves and other men, with no arbitrary distinctions. Ghost Nation. 5. Articles in Vice and Hellfire have juxtaposed the phenomenon of herbivore men in Japan to MGTOW. Mack, Lamoureux, writing in Vice, sees herbivore men as a consequence of Japanese socio-economic conditions and MGTOW as an ideological choice. 2. In the Hellfire article, MGTOW are described as a protest against feminist laws in the West, whereas herbivore men are a response to traditional gender roles in Japan, such as those of salarymen. 13. Interpretation. Deduction. Men that have been continually put out and exploited by conventions, social or otherwise, to the point that they reject those conventions. 14. 15. Interpretation. Naivety. Conventionalists believe that MGTOW men are bastards for not sacrificing themselves to societal expectations, that only think of themselves, in addition to shirking their moral and societal responsibilities. A common opinion of traditionalists, and men and women that subscribe to gender roles. Tradcan. 16. Conventionalists' curiosity accuses MGTOW of being a hate cult, is because they speak the truth under academically proved facts that are not flattering to women, that they are used to hearing through feminist indoctrination. 25. So when they call MGTOW a hate cult, as they have done to many others. 21. 22. They are doing this intentionally to be dishonest or being delusional, because they've been trained by society that you can only speak of women as being angelic and godlike. 23. 25. Which is a societal cult within itself. 20. 24. Rather than the examination of reality, that women's behavior is, though amoral, is destructive to society, especially to men. 23. 25. critics of MGTOW equate these views to an accusation of immorality, rather than just a statement of fact, that it is amoral in nature, asserting that MGTOW spread hate rather than fact, when in reality it is the opposite. 24. Interpretation, antonym, negative, privileged man that are focused only on their needs and fears under a feminist rape culture and patriarchy paradigm. 17. Interpretation, feminist/anti-feminist. MGTOW is a non-actor to feminism and politics. According to Michael Flood, to be an anti-feminist one must engage and debate with feminists, whereby the group by itself he does not acknowledge fighting feminism but nothing's feminism. An argument that MGTOW is anti-feminist as a group is a non sequitur, as it is a non-remonstrate, optimal life strategy community, a philosophic discussion. It is an individual's choice independent of the movement to discuss anti-feminism but not a group decision ideology. With MGTOW protestation, by non-participation in traditional ideologies and gender roles, it is a lifestyle of non-violent resistance that does not hurt or oppress anybody. Gandhi proved this through NVR, and nobody would call Gandhi a misogynist fascist, so the same paradigm applies to MGTOW. 18, 24. But is more characterized by the work of François-Marie Rouet, 1694-1778, famous using his pen name Voltaire, a French writer, deist and philosopher, said, "If you want to know who rules over you, look to who you are not allowed to criticize." In the 21st century, that is women. End communication.
We think we've come so far. Torture of heretics, burning of witches, all ancient history. Then, before you can blink an eye, suddenly it threatens to start all over again.
I believed her. I helped her. I did not see what she was.
Mr. Worf, villains who twirl their mustaches are easy to spot. Those who clothe themselves in good deeds are well camouflaged.
I think after yesterday, people will not be so ready to trust her.
Maybe. But she, or someone like her, will always be with us, waiting for the right climate in which to flourish, spreading fear in the name of righteousness.